Good evening. My name is Robin Muir. On behalf of the League of Women Voters of Kitsap, I want to welcome you to this evening's forum for Kitsap Public Utility District Commissioner District Number 1. This webinar will be recorded by both the League of Women Voters Kitsap and BKAT and will be accessible through our website at lwv-kitsap.org, and BCAT will air their recordings on 3 consecutive Fridays, October 21st, 28th, depending on the editing on the 21st, and on November 4th, and that will be at 8 p.m. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization that neither supports nor opposes political parties or candidates. The League does take positions on matters of public policy and advocates for those positions after careful study. Formed in the 1920s as an outgrowth of the women's suffrage movement, the League's purpose was and is to this day to educate and inform citizens so that they may more fully participate in our democracy. As a membership organization, we depend on our members to organize and run events such as this. We invite and encourage everyone to become members and help us work on the League's basic tenet, that our form of government depends upon the informed and active participation of its citizens. We would like to acknowledge that our homes and gathering places in present-day Kitsap County are within the ancestral territories of the Suquamish and S'Klallam peoples, who have lived in harmony with the lands and waterways along Washington's Central Salish Sea for thousands of years. Here, the Suquamish and the S'Klallam live and protect the land and waters of their ancestors for future generations, as promised by the Point Elliott Treaty of 1855 and by the Point No Point Treaty of 1855. Joining us this evening are candidates for Kitsap County Public Utility District Commissioner District Number 3, Debbie Lester and Alice Tawresey. Our rules for this evening's forum is as follows. Each candidate will be given 1.5 minutes to make an opening statement. Following the opening remarks, I'll ask questions that have been submitted by the public in advance. Then each candidate will have 1 minute to respond to the question. After that, we'll have closing remarks, which will also be 1.5 minutes long. We're going to ask that you keep an eye on the digital timer. If time expires before you finish, please finish your sentence and then yield the floor. Each of you has our thanks for stepping up and running for elected office. Please be respectful of each other, refrain from personal attacks, and address your remarks either to me as the moderator or to our audience. So we're going to get started. And Alice, you are going to have the first, we're using the order from the voter's guide. So your name is first on that. And we're going to have you start with your opening remarks.
Okay. Well, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for having this forum and for inviting Ms. Lester and me to testify. There are a number of other forums around the county where they've completely forgotten about the Public Utility District Commissioners. So this is a real treat, and thank you very much. And I'd also like to thank Debra for her service on the City Council of Bainbridge Island and for her service on the Public Utility District. So I've been in Kitsap County for 50 years. I came here as a young woman and got my first teaching job at Bainbridge High School. My students were not much younger than I was at the time, but I saw myself as the authority figure, and so it worked very well. But I still enjoy meeting those young people, and now my age people, in the grocery store and so forth. I've made a career really out of public service, starting with those high school years, and progressing through as the elected mayor of Winslow for 12 years, on the board of directors of the Department of Transportation for 9 years, trustee of Olympic College for 9 years, most recently on the Bloedel board, the Kitsap Community Foundation, and the Arc of the Peninsulas, which has services and programs for neurodiverse people. So thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. All right, Debbie.
Thank you, League of Women Voters, for hosting this forum and for everyone participating and viewing online. My name is Debra Lester, and I'm running for re-election as your Kitsap Public Utility District Commissioner 1. Much has been accomplished during my first term, and I'm excited to do more. My focus has been to build stronger, Kitsap community alliances to ensure safe drinking water, to carefully plan and manage our precious water resources, to treat wastewater so as to retain more water in our freshwater systems, and to extend broadband service. My abilities to advocate and collaborate get results. One example is the state passage of the public broadband option. After 2 decades of PUDs, ports, and towns being unable to serve internet to residents directly, we now can. And this allows public internet providers to apply for federal funding. Kitsap PUD during my first term has received $11 million in internet grants. I promise to use my experiences and abilities to continue to get results for you as your KPUD commissioner. Whether responding to your concerns, attending meetings, or testifying at the state capitol, I will do whatever is necessary to ensure that KPUD customers have affordable and reliable utility services.
All right, we're going to start our questions, and we have discussed earlier, Debbie will speak first on the first half of the questions, and then Alice will speak first on the second half. First one is, Kitsap County has begun working on updates to the comprehensive plan, working with stakeholders throughout the county to prepare and plan for increased growth throughout the region. With the increases in population, there will be increased demand for housing and services. Kitsap Public Utilities District will be tasked with meeting the increased demands. As a commission, what do you see as the top 3 priorities?
Certainly with the increased demand, that's an increased demand on water. And Kitsap PUD has been focusing on creating a regional water system so that we can serve those areas that have, for instance, our Seebeck area is getting 80 inches of rain a year, whereas our Hansville is only getting 30. So we have created a regional water system to help move water around, and this also helps us with resting our aquifers so they can have a chance to recharge. We follow very closely as the manager, as the designated agency overseeing water for Kitsap County. We measure constantly. You can't manage what you don't measure. So we have precipitation, rainfall, the wells are monitored, and as well as our streams. Thank you.
Okay, so water source and distribution is really the crux of the matter. I would take Bainbridge Island as an example. The Public Utility District manages the North Bainbridge and South Bainbridge water districts or water systems. It does not manage the city of Bainbridge's water system, and therefore there's not coordination. So in the south end, they have problems in the summer with aquifer drying up. In the north, they have plenty of water. So if those were interconnected, there would be a lot better, more reliable service. The second thing is growth is going to, well, people poop. And they have, they have drain fields that you cannot pack that many drain fields into a small area. So small packaged and advanced wastewater treatment where the water can be used to recharge the aquifer is another really innovative way that the PUD can address growth and manage the utility needs.
Thank you. All right, next question. We're experiencing rapid growth, and with growth comes the need for water. What are your plans to ensure that all of the county residents who rely on KPUD will be able to have enough water for their daily needs? And that goes to Debbie first.
Thank you. So as I said, we are constantly monitoring our wells, and we have specific water rights for the water throughout the county area. And so basically, we are focused on making sure that we have adequate water supplies. I mentioned our doing the monitoring of wells and such. This information provides us with quality data that we share with the county, with the cities, and we are making sure that we have adequate water supply. At this point, based on the numbers of build out areas, we currently do have adequate water. Thank you.
Alice.
Well, you know, I used to think that the water that came from the Olympics was also available to Kitsap County, but I think the recent geological work that the PUD has done shows that that is not the case. So the only water that we have in Kitsap County is water that falls on the on the Kitsap Peninsula. So the key here is distribution. And I think the point has been well made by both Debra and myself that that connecting water systems and making water available for from one area to the other is really where it's at. My familiarity and my connections in Kitsap County will definitely allow me to work within some of the water districts that are not currently connected with the PUD and some of the municipal areas to achieve this kind of distribution coordination. And I'm really excited about that possibility.
Thank you. Next question. Weather fluctuations are producing summers that are hotter and drier than what the PNW has historically experienced. What steps can KPUD take to encourage conservation during dry periods?
Thank you, and this is super important. And definitely when I'm walking around, I can see that it is extremely dry, and this concerns me. In talking with the fire chief, our last fire on the south end of the island, it hit at the same time that the heat dome happened. And so we actually had to have our south end users conserve water after that fire so that the water could recharge again. Certainly looking at what we're doing with the wastewater treatment plant, the membrane bioreactor plant, where that is taking wastewater and cleaning it to drinking water standards, putting it back into our aquifers. That is another way that we can, in terms of recapturing, recycling that clean water. That's important. We have Facebook posts, we have education on our website in terms of conservation efforts. Thank you.
Alice?
So in talking to the former general manager of the Public Utility District, I was told that irrigation and people's very lavish and luscious yards are a problem. So I think one of the ways that we can, without too much pain for our community, find ways to conserve is by having an affordable base rate, but a much higher tiered rate for users that are watering excessively. And of course, this comes along with the need to educate people so they can understand, okay, you can keep all of your beautiful plants alive and you can have a lovely yard and you can have a green lawn, but here are the ways that you can water and still conserve and leave water for other customers who need the water for basic needs. That plus the really exciting idea of recharging the aquifer with the effluent from these advanced microbiological reactor treatment plants, that's not the right term, sorry, are a very important idea.
Thank you. KPUD has been operating an open fiber optic network for over a decade. During the pandemic, it became apparent that reliable connectivity in the more rural areas of the county was not always available because of increased demand. How would you suggest KPUD facilitate more reliable internet countywide?
Wow, that's a fantastic question. And when COVID made us go to work and school online, Kitsap PUD immediately put up free Wi-Fi sites throughout the county. We knew that was a Band-Aid, but it helped during the transition. What we had to do was address the issue that privates had kept us from being able to get federal funding. Just as we go to the federal and state to get funding to build bridges and roads and ferry systems, et cetera, this infrastructure can be costly. And so to be able to change the state law so that PUDs, ports, and towns now can apply for federal funding was one of the first steps that we took. Another thing, working with the county, we are going to be receiving money to put internet nodes in those areas that don't have internet services. So that will help bring down the cost of internet.
Thank you, Alice.
So I've been talking to people in the county who are unhappy with their internet service. They're unhappy with the private companies, with the internet service providers. We call those ISPs. And that is one of the opportunities that the PUD has. So the PUD can kind of like a sewer system or water system can put lines in the right of way. And they even have the opportunity, thanks to some of the lobbying efforts of my opponent, they have the ability to actually bring the lines from the right of way to the house of the customer. However, you need to remember that there are private providers that are going to provide the service. And people's unhappiness with the service a lot of times has not anything to do with the PUD, but has everything to do with the fact that Comcast is overloaded, or you know, a lot of people are trying to go to school all at the same time. So we have an imperfect service, an imperfect system, and we need to remember that improvement is necessary and work toward that goal.
Thank you. Next question.
At a certain point, will we be able to clarify and if there's or respond to things that may not actually be correct?
Normally, we just do the questions and have you answer. Let's see how time goes, and maybe we can make have a time for clarification.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you for asking. In 2014, KPUD made news with a new approach to wastewater treatment and discharge when it installed a membrane bioreactor plant in Port Gamble and changed how it discharged the treated water. The MBR, using a filtration system, you know this, I know, system cleans the water to a high degree, permitting reuse. Instead of discharging the treated water into Hood Canal, it is redirected inland to recharge streams and groundwater to help replenish aquifers. What other projects would you like to see KPUD pursue? Could this method be repeated elsewhere in the county to ensure cleaner water is discharged into our streams and bays? And Debbie, you are first on that one.
Absolutely, and thank you for bringing this up. It's an important technology, and I think many municipalities and other utilities should be focused on this. And to that end, I have invited the City of Bainbridge Island to come and see our membrane bioreactor wastewater treatment plant. We are developing a pilot project for Indianola. And certainly there are other areas, Bainbridge Island, I think of the sand spit as a perfect area, or Fay Bainbridge Park, and that area could certainly use this MBR plant. And there are other opportunities with this plant as well that potentially we could use the water to create a heat generation system. We can use the compost we can use the cleaned waste to become compost. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I toured the Port Gamble membrane bioreactor MBR plant, and it is really cool. I think there are a lot of opportunities for places where people have used up their property with their existing drain fields. I moved here 50 years ago, and I know a lot of growth has happened since then. And in that 50 years, people who had a great drain field, then they had to, redo it in someplace else. They need to get connected to maybe a small package membrane bioreactor plant where the effluent is good enough to drink. Now, you wouldn't want to necessarily drink it. They showed me a bottle of effluent that came out of their MBR plant in Port Gamble, and I didn't drink it, but they said you could. But the water is clean enough to be able to spray on open space. And people don't realize that one of the ways to recharge the aquifer is their drain fields. Well, this is a way to do it on a grand scale. And I think that's a real exciting possibility.
Thank you. Next question. What do you see as the major issues facing KPUD in particular and public utilities in general, water and internet for our KPUD at this time? What do you think the Board of Commissioners could be doing to meet the challenges those issues present? And Debbie, you are first.
Okay. Robert, we should go to Alice now.
Oops.
Not yet.
Oh, so obviously, as we see that our climate is changing, we're having longer heat spells, drought. When it rains in the wintertime, rather than that gentle rain that really can recharge the aquifer, we're now getting intense surges of rainfall. So being very aware that our climate is changing, I think KPUD has to look to what we're doing and what kind of climate action plan are we making to work in coordination with the county and our cities, and focusing on such things as certainly these MBR plants are key, and also working to focus on helping people be more conservation minded about this important resource.
Thank you. And Alice.
So I want to turn to finance. I think the PUD is going to be going through a difficult time with respect to its budget. It's hard to get employees. And the people that the PUD needs to employ are people that are going to expect salaries that are respectable, that are living wage salaries. And so finding a way to increase their revenue. Well, their revenue comes from a tax, a small amount of tax on the property. It also comes from the rates that their water customers pay. And finding a way to allow the customers to still get water, and it's affordable, but yet have enough money to pay for the quality employees that they need to be able to provide the service. I think, climate change Debra Luster is absolutely correct. It's a definite challenge, but finances are also going to be a challenge. And it's going to take somebody who has experience in managing large budgets like me to be able to work with that.
Thank you. All right. Well, coincidentally, our next question is on the budget, and Alice, you'll be the first one to answer for the next set of questions.
Sure.
What is the current state of KPUD's finances in terms of maintenance and operation? How much debt is the public holding for the utility district? And are there any threats to KPUD's financial security that voters and customers should be aware of?
Well, in looking at the KPUD budget, I see that it's significant. We're talking about something in the $21 to $22 million range for operation and capital. The budget is well managed. The KPUD has very competent people working for them. These people are people who have experience in managing budgets and experience in rate setting. And I really applaud them for doing a good job. The carryover from 21 to 22 is adequate. They have 3 months of money in the bank, so to speak, to be able to continue their work. I think they're doing a very good job of managing what they have to work with. Rate setting is something that I have experience with, and I think that's really basically the basic question of budgeting.
Debbie.
When I came on board at Kitsap Public Utility District, they had been contracting their financial services out to a consultant. And to me, that posed quite a bit of challenge as the budgets were getting larger for the staff to be able to have those numbers in-house became very important. So I advocated, and fortunately the other board members agreed that we had gotten large enough that we needed to bring a finance director in-house. And our finance director is remarkable, and her ability to provide reports, to work with the numbers so we can project and figure out what is needed in terms of our potential rate cost and things like that. I think that was a huge change and shift and a positive change for Kitsap PUD.
Thank you. Next question. Currently, meetings of KPUD are held in person and over Zoom, but the meetings are not recorded. Would you support recording meetings to make them more accessible to county residents? And Alice, you would go first on this.
I think the answer is yes. I'm really not sure what else I can say about it. I'd also like to see the budget on the website. I couldn't find that. I had to ask for it. And so, you know, there are some other ways that you can make the workings of the PUD more transparent. People, you know, when I worked with the Department of Transportation, they used to say, we want to make this service so seamless that that people won't even know we exist. Well, it was a problem because no one really knew they existed. And I think the PUD is sort of in that situation. People don't want to think about, you know, their water source. They just want it to be there. People don't want to think about how they're going to deal with their waste. They just want their internet service and they don't want to think about that. But I think that the PUD needs to really do a lot more to publicize what it does and bring forth the opportunities and the services that it provides. And that's what I would do if I get to be, and I hope I do get to be a PUD commissioner.
Debbie.
Thank you. So yes, of course, that is something that we should be doing, getting up to speed and having the ability to manage those videos. We are currently creating a new website, and yes, Alice, I totally agree with you. All of the documents should be easily accessible on our website. One thing that we did when I first came on the board, we created videos about each of our utilities so that we could have a really quick snapshot of what we do. And part of the next step, it's like you get one thing done and now you got more projects. And our next project is updating that website and to have it user-friendly for people who are visually impaired, for people that need translation, all of those things. So that rollout is probably within the next 3 months or so, we'll have a better website.
So oddly, the next question happened to be, what is your opinion of the website? When looking for information on the utility district, budget information was not available. Let's see. Would you support having the budget related information on the website? And what is your opinion of the website in general? So I think you people are reading our minds.
All I can say is yes. I really don't have anything more to add than what I said before.
Go ahead.
Absolutely. And again, I think it's that thing of just you're constantly dealing with what's coming in, and it has been COVID, internet challenges, building out internet as fast as we can. And we also hired a new general manager, the first woman to ever be hired as the general manager. That was like the first 6 months of last year. I mean, it was intense how much energy went into that. So now Breathe, our communications person who was handling our general manager hiring, she actually gets to focus on her job, which is helping to build that website and helping to create greater communications. when I was on the city of Bainbridge Island, that was one of the top things that council board that I was on that we did accomplish, was to get a better website for Bainbridge. Now I want to do that for Kitsap PUD as well. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next question. What is your opinion of current rates and charges? Do you think rates need to be increased to pay for increased costs, salaries, debt reduction, equipment, etc.?
Well, first I'd like to compliment the PUD for hiring Angela Bennick. It's interesting, she is a mechanical engineer, I think, right? And she is, as Debra said, she's the first woman to be the general manager. The PUD had been for years kind of a good old boys club, and it's just absolutely a breath of fresh air to see someone with her qualifications and her skills as the general manager. As far as the rates, when I was on the city of, when I was the mayor of Bainbridge of Winslow, we did for the first time have a tiered rate structure. Now, and listening to the meeting that I was at the last few PUD meetings, they are actually going to be increasing the base rate, a modest amount, an amount they need to be able to backfill the budget. But I would really like to see them increase the tiers, for those people that are using excessive and inordinate amounts of water. I'd like to see them increase them more so that people, and educate them so people can water their beautiful yards, but yet not be crazy with the water.
Thank you. Debbie.
So we right now are in wrestling with our budget and our rates, and we will have to do a bit of an increase. And at this point, we're still debating that. The challenging thing is our cost of services, 30% to 60%, some of the supplies. Our insurance for our employees is going up by 45%. It's shocking. And I would say that our current base rate is probably the lowest around. And we are actually looking at our other sister utilities and nearby utilities to get a sense of what it potentially needs to do. My focus has always been that base rate needs to cover our costs of operation and maintenance, period, cover our fixed cost. And so with that, yes, we are in the middle of that wrestling match, and I've tried to temper it a bit.
Thank you. Next question. In your opinion, is the utility district prepared for the projected 70,000 plus new residents that we're expecting over the next 2 decades? And Alice, you're first.
Okay, yes, thank you. Yeah, I think 70,000 is, in the next 2 decades, is a huge amount. I think that the PUD is perhaps not well prepared to do that. I think that's going to have to be something that they focus on very carefully, thinking about their source and their distribution system, collaborating with other county leaders to make sure that that water is interchangeable and is available when necessary. If one system has it and the other doesn't, then they can collaborate and get together. But one of the most promising things that the PUD is doing right now is with this membrane bioreactor advanced technology wastewater treatment. If we think about it, if we could actually reclaim the water that we are wasting and putting out into Puget Sound, use it to recharge the aquifer, I think we could probably handle that 70,000 people.
Thank you. Debbie.
So we do work very closely with Silverdale Water District, the City of Poulsbo, Kitsap County, City of Bainbridge Island. We have interties with the City of Bainbridge Island. We have interties with the City of Poulsbo. We are very focused on making sure that we manage that precious water resource wisely. And so we do help when it is needed. On Bainbridge Island, we are absolutely doing that in the sense of creating connections and tying our systems together. The goal is that we focus on, by tying those systems together, we can shut certain wells down to let them recharge during different times of the year. And in terms of meeting that expectation of the 70,000, I think it's probably going to be more than that. And yes, we are ready.
Thank you. All right, this is the last question for this evening. And this is kind of a fun one. If KPUD were to receive a $5 million grant that could be used in any way, how would you propose that it be spent?
Well, I love the idea of these advanced technology water treatment, wastewater treatment plants. And so what I would use that money for would be to try to interest communities like the sand spits and some of the other really closely populated waterfront areas, try to interest them in participating in changing from individual drain fields per property to these small package treatment plants so that we can recharge the aquifer. You know, we would all benefit from that. The property owners would benefit from that, as would the upland property owners from the recharge of the aquifer. So I don't know, a public relations campaign, hiring an individual to actually go out and interest people, and then maybe subsidizing the actual infrastructure in implementation would be, I think, one of the very beneficial things that we could do.
Thank you. And Debbie.
So fingers crossed, we're actually applying for a grant to put an MBR plant in Indianola as a pilot project. So hopefully we'll get that money and we'll get that done. I have to say that there is so much pounding of our doors to provide internet service that I would actually invest that in getting more middle mile built out. And the goal would be to make sure that we provide the ability for that cost to the individual homeowners to come down. Our internet fiber is open access internet fiber. Comcast is not on there because they don't have open internet access. None of the privates are on there. We have 5 local businesses that are participating. They sign a service level contract with us. And if they say they're going to give this service, they have to give it, or else we take over as the internet service provider. That was kind of one of the corrections I wanted to make. So I got it in there.
All right, thank you. All right, we're now ready for our closing remarks. And Debbie, you will go first on those.
All right.
You have a minute and a half.
Thank you, League of Women Voters, for organizing this forum, and everyone for your good questions. Thank you to my opponent for running, as this provides opportunities for the community to have this conversation about the role and work of Kitsap PUD Commissioner and Kitsap PUD. In my first term, common sense solutions to environmental challenges have been accomplished. We replaced the Port Gamble sewer and outfall with a wastewater treatment plant that now cleans the water and sends it to a drain field to recharge our aquifers. Water is no longer simply wasted and flushed out to the sound. It is cleaned and recycled back into our aquifers. With the removal of the outfall, 90 acres of shellfish beds were reopened for the Port Gamble Sklallam tribe, creating economic and environmental benefits. When COVID moved school and work online, we provided Wi-Fi sites for students and citizens. Working with our state elected officials, we helped public broadband internet become state law, qualifying PUDs for federal funding. Kitsap PUD is receiving $11 million in internet project funding. In my first term, KPUD went from 200 miles of internet fiber to now nearly 4 times that, 800 miles and counting. I am honored to be endorsed by National Women's Political Caucus of Washington, Washington Conservation Voters, Suquamish Tribe, Senator Office, Representative Drew Hansen, Poulsville Mayor Becky Erickson, Bremerton Mayor Greg Wheeler, and Kitsap County Commissioner Rob Gelter. For more information, DebraLester.net.
Thank you. And Alice.
Well, again, thank you to the League of Women Voters for doing this tonight. It's an honor to be included. I was actually asked to run by various leaders in the county, and they recognized my ability to collaborate, my ability to participate in boards, to allow for discussion, for a variety of opinions, but eventually to recognize the moment to make a decision. And I am hoping that I can extend my community service, my heart for being a public servant to work for the PUD. I am endorsed also by Commissioner Ed Wolf, by former Bremerton Mayor Patty Lent, by the former General Manager Bob. Bob, what's Bob's last name? Flew out of my mind just now. And many other community leaders, both on Bainbridge. I actually have gotten letters to the editor from people that I worked with 40 years ago who still remember how good it was to work together. So I am hoping that the voters will recognize that my breadth of experience is a breath of fresh air and will vote for me. And I can bring a lot of experience and former knowledge to the Public Utility District Commission. And thank you, everyone.
Oh, thank you so much. We appreciate your time and your willingness to be here with us. So this concludes the questions part. I just have a couple things. Once again, I'd like to thank you for taking the time to join us and for committing to running for office. We know that that's a big commitment. We think that a well-informed electorate is critical to our democracy, and that these kinds of events are very helpful in informing the community about our candidates and those who choose to run for office. This is my PSA. The general election is November 8th. Ballots will be mailed on October 25th, and the drop boxes will be opened on that same day. We need to make sure that our ballots are marked and put into the ballot box by 8 p.m. on November 8th, or that if you choose to mail it, that your ballot is postmarked November 8th. Information on our candidates and issues can be accessed at vote411.org or in your voter pamphlet, which you should have received in the mail. The pamphlet can also be accessed online at kitsapgov.com/auditor. And on behalf of the League of Women Voters of Kitsap, I'd like to encourage everyone to get out and vote. So good night, ladies, and thank you so very much.
Good night. Thank you.
You're
Nonpartisan election, don't forget.
Thank you, Alice.
Thanks,
bye,
Debbie.
bye. Thank you, everyone.